This is Rehearsal and Recovery with Jamelyn Gray. Today's guest, Robbie Sender. So thank you so much, my good friend, Robbie Sender, for coming to my space
Happy to be here.
and hanging out for a little bit and
Thanks for having
talking
me.
a little bit for some time to talk about recovery and whatnot. I was thinking today about just our friendship and how long we've been friends and our timeline. And I thought when we met, I was 6 months in recovery.
Yeah.
And I just passed the 9-year mark.
Damn, dude.
So,
Has it been that
damn, dude,
long?
put that in your pipe and smoke it. Yeah. That's how long it's been.
Fitting idiom.
Yeah,
for
that's
the
a fitting
podcast.
idiom, is it? Yes. So that's how long we've been friends, my friend. I think we can get to like your how we met later on, but I just want to start off with you and where you grew up and all those kinds of things.
Sure.
And
Well, I grew up in a little town north of Milwaukee called Grafton, in Ozaukee County.
I've been there.
And yeah,
I've been to the Noodles and Company there.
Yep. I actually worked at that Noodles and Company for a little while. I was a terrible employee. I washed dishes and I would eat leftovers that were left on tables.
Oh no,
Dude, I've been like a pseudo.
You are that guy.
I've been like a pseudo homeless person my entire life.
Oh no, pseudo homeless person. Okay, well, and okay, all right, pseudo homeless. All right. Eating noodles and I mean, the food is good, so
Yeah.
what can you say?
People would leave like whole plates of mac and cheese left over, and I was like, "This is mine."
We're so wasteful as a
Yeah.
society. Other podcast. Okay,
Yeah.
so Grafton.
Yeah, I grew up in Grafton. I mean, I had a pretty kind of normal, nice childhood. My dad died when I was 14 years old. Obviously tough. And then, I was always kind of like, I guess, a wild kid, but I think that probably I kind of turned up the notches on that a little bit. Um, and then, plus, like, my mom was so overwhelmed, like, because I have two younger siblings, and so,
So 3 kids.
yeah,
Dad dies.
yeah,
And you're the oldest?
uh huh.
So 3 kids under 14
Yep.
years old, and then he passes.
Yeah. And so I probably like, unconsciously was like sort of taking advantage of the situation to kind of like run, my mom ragged because she didn't have like the mental energy to sort of
You're a
like.
teenager.
Well, yeah. And so, and I was, obviously like understandably angsty and whatever else. So that's like, I guess, when I started like, and I was never like really getting in big trouble or anything like that. I I think I kind of like was getting away with a lot because I was like kind of was being troublesome, but not like getting arrested a lot or anything like that. And then I went to school at UW Milwaukee for a semester before I stopped going to all my classes, and moved in in an apartment with.
I did a half a semester for my first time through college. So
I enrolled in a bunch of yoga and beginner guitar classes and
nice
stuff that was not classes at all. And I was living with a bunch of dudes down there in Milwaukee, and kind of never looked back. And then I mean, yeah, that was kind of growing up was being like I said, somewhat of a troublemaker, getting, in trouble here and there for whether it was like underage drinking or
were you arrested for underage drinking?
Yeah, a couple times. I actually
nice.
I got choke slammed by a cop. And it was I remember like I mean, I was definitely being a dickhead.
I can see that from you. I can see that from you.
But I remember trying to like request the footage from the police station, and we got it, and it was like blank.
Oh
Yeah, 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 yeah,
no.
yeah. But I had bruises and everything on my neck. It was pretty
Did you
gnarly.
take
But
pictures and the whole nine?
yeah, I did. I was just, but also too, like I was, I remember at one point in the night, uh, I was like handcuffed to a chair, but it was like in like the lobby, and they were like freestanding, like like the kind of chairs you'd see like in an office lobby, and I remember just picking it up and walking out the front door, with it, handcuffed to it, like I was just gonna
Also, I
leave.
can see this from you.
And they,
All of this, I see all of
so
this.
it wasn't much of a chase, but yeah, so I was troublesome. Not wildly, but yeah.
This all I mean, I was arrested twice for underage drinking, for
Yeah.
God's sakes. It's very normal,
Yeah.
run of the mill Wisconsin
Yeah,
behavior.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So that was childhood. That was early adolescence, early adulthood. Stayed in the city most of my life, kicked around the music scene here and there, played in a couple of bands. Never really
So how did that start?
music in
Yeah.
general. So when I was in seventh grade, I was really lucky at my school. We had a pretty nice music program where, so I was like a choir kid and all that. And in seventh grade, we had a semester of piano and a semester of guitar.
What's a song that you remember from choir from 7th grade?
Uh, um, Man, from seventh grade choir, I think like what's the one? You will take the high road and I'll take the Loch Lomond. Loch Lomond was one that
What?
we did. We did like what else? I mean, I think we probably did a couple Disney songs.
Sure.
We did like Grafton actually had like a pretty nice choir program. Like
Okay.
our high school went to sing at what do you call it? The Catholic Church in Washington D.C., like the Basilica.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, yeah. So and then so like there was like a kind of a feeder program from the middle school into the high school for that. Um
Nice.
I think we even had like a chambers group that I was in. So we would like uh and around Christmas time we'd like put on the what do you call it? The Charles Dickens like outfits and go caroling and do that whole thing. But
Nice.
like and there was a jazz ensemble and I honestly don't remember a ton of the tunes that we did in the jazz ensemble. Obviously the standard Christmas classics.
Sure.
Um
I was just laughing because for me, for 7th grade, what it just smacks in my brain of everything I do it for you by Bryan Adams.
yeah.
Because this shows how old I am. Because Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves was the big movie at that
Oh, sure,
time
sure, sure. Yeah, yeah.
with what's his name? Cowboy. All I can think of is Christian Slater as the younger brother, and he wasn't all that great. Sorry. Sorry. Nope, it's gone. Okay, but but it just makes me laugh because 7th grade is and choir is funny. Anyway,
Yeah.
so yes. But so and in here then you started playing guitar.
Yeah, and so I developed a taste for music anyway, because I actually just joined choir because I had no interest in it, but I had a couple friends who were doing it, and I transferred from like the private school to the middle school to public middle school. Um, I grew up Catholic, so I went to like a Catholic school, and then I
Sure.
wanted to go to the public school because it was cooler, and
Of course.
so I wanted to be in class with my friends, so I took choir. There was a semester of guitar, and I really fell in love with it, and then so I asked for a guitar that Christmas, and
Nice.
yeah, and then kind of took off running with it at some point in
So you
that
got
time.
it.
Yeah, yeah, I did. Yeah, I got
Santa brought it.
Santa brought it.
Okay.
Yep, yep,
Okay.
yep.
Okay.
Santa brought me a guitar that I
That's
beat the
a
crap out of and put stickers all
big
over.
gift.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm sure it was like 100. It was like a cheap acoustic guitar, like probably cost $100, but it was definitely. I spent a lot of time with it for sure, and I had it for a real long time, probably till I was like in my mid 20s, and then I don't remember exactly what I did to it, if I destroyed it or what, but I don't have it anymore. But yeah, so yeah, started playing when I was a kid. I grew up on like pop punk. Um, I remember watching this video of Blink-182 playing "Damn It" in my friend's basement, and like it's like I just remember like when there's like this like this kind of, it's just the guitar, and I was like, oh, this is cool, and the drums pop in, and then they shout like, take your pants off into the microphone, and the drums come in, and I was just like, well, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. So yeah.
I don't. I actually don't think I knew that that was the name of the song.
Oh, damn it. Yeah, because it's, well, I guess this is growing up is like
Yes.
the hook. Yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Learn something new every day.
Well, that was another pop punk thing that they did, was the songs, the title of a song was like never in the lyrics,
Oh,
you know?
sure.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, so pop punk, started playing guitar, started my first band in 8th grade with a couple friends, and we covered some Blink songs at a school dance.
Hell yeah, you
And
did.
yep. And then kept that rolling for, basically, forever.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So when I met you, your resume was, I think, 3 productions long. And I asked you, because this is my segue for you into the acting portion
Oh
of the
yeah.
program,
Yeah.
right? Because you're at your core, you're a musician, right?
Hmm.
So but you did this sort of side trip
I
into
did.
the world of
I
theater.
did. I did.
Um,
Very cliche.
you were you were in the very first production of The Constructivists
Mm.
back in the day. Season 1. It wasn't even season 1. I call it like our
The
preview.
preseason,
Like
yeah, season
like
0.
like season 0. It was like, I looked at it as an experiment, as to what potential The Constructivists had.
Yeah.
And it was gruesome playground injuries. Great show. It's very small and doable. It's 2 person, and you came in and you had like this 3 production resume, and it was like, why the hell are you doing that? I think you said like your girlfriend told you to.
Yeah, it was. I was the girl I was dating at the time had said to me like once or twice, like, I think you'd be a good actor. And I was like, okay, whatever. And I never really thought about it. And like the idea just got in my head. And I was like, well, how do you go about acting? And I'd done like a couple musicals in high school. I
Ah.
did have like not a lead, but like I was the ghost of Jacob Marley in my senior year in A Christmas Carol.
Ah.
Um and then uh I kind of crushed it, to be honest, in that role.
Of course you did.
If I
Of
may,
course
it's
you
just
did.
one song, but it's like a big dramatic song, and like, so it was fun. But I decided to go out on a limb and try it, and I went to like like 2 auditions in the the first like like the first week I tried it, I like just like went to an audition. I went to 2 auditions like back to back days, and I got a role in um, Oscar Wilde's
Yeah. The importance of
and I
being earnest.
no, it was An Ideal
Oh.
Husband.
Oh, was that
An
an
Ideal
ideal
Husband.
husband? Yeah.
And I was Lord Goring in that,
Yeah.
and then uh, and no direction, predictably like sort of just bad. Um,
Well, for anybody that spent time with you, I feel like you were potentially miscast. There's a chance that you were miscast.
I don't know.
Just saying.
Well, and I had no idea what I was doing. So I had no
You
like,
still had plugs in your ears and things like that, I think, at that
uh-huh.
time. Yeah.
I just had no sense of like what, like, I don't know, I
Yeah.
like how to develop a relationship with the script, and any of
Yeah.
that was all foreign to
And
me.
that's challenging work. Oscar Wilde is challenging stuff.
Yeah, and like, like, and I would hate to diminish the production or anything like that, but yeah, I don't think that like it was like a riveting rendition necessarily, but
That
but
maybe you were a little out of your depth.
for
So
sure,
yeah.
I'm sure I was.
Yeah.
I'm sure I was.
Yeah.
Um, and then I got to do, and then I actually had overlapping rehearsals for a little while because I got the other role that I auditioned for that weekend as the cat in Coraline the Musical.
Yeah.
And that was super fun because they gave me so much leeway, but it kind of works for the character
Yeah.
because he's this chaotic
Yeah,
element.
yeah.
There was one day where like there was a prop that didn't get placed on stage, and so I like slunk out onto the stage and like placed it there, like this was all part of the plan, and like like
Totally.
that role was super fun. Um,
Was it was that outskirts?
yeah,
Yeah.
that was David K produced it. I think that was, or was that no, it wasn't Outskirts.
Oh.
It was, oh no, I don't remember the name of his production company anymore. Um, but yeah, that was the David gave me that role. I was really grateful for that because that was a lot of fun. And then like so I jumped in, received two roles, and I was like, well, I guess I'm good at this. And then yeah, you should laugh. You should laugh. I deserve that. Um, and then I went and auditioned for you, and to
Yeah.
be fair, you
I
gave me
can't.
a
I
role right
guess.
away
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um,
It's right there. The sign. The poster's right there.
oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was and that was my what I think was like my first real uh acting experience because like before it was just a loosey goosey. I just get my lines right and move to the right spot. Um,
Yeah. I pushed you hard.
uh-huh, you did, and
Yeah.
I really appreciated that. And I remember even telling me like or telling people when they would ask like, "Oh, what's the construction of this like?" I was like, "Well, like Jamie will push you, dude, but like you're gonna you're gonna be great glad you did." Like
Yeah.
because some of those rehearsals were kind of a slog and like you're like, "No,
We did
no,
skip
do it
over and
again, do it
over and
again, do it
over.
again."
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, real like if there was ever a time where I was good at acting, it's because of you.
Well,
Truly.
and Solana. Solana was
Well, yeah, I mean, she made it easy
fantastic.
to work with. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we did Pillow Man,
Yep, yep.
which was also awesome and fantastic. But that show was very large for a
It
second
was
show.
yeah, yeah. That was an ambitious second show
That
for
was
sure.
very ambitious. I am nothing if I am not ambitious.
Yeah,
Hello, podcast.
yeah. Rose was great in that.
Oh,
Casting her as
fantastic.
what's the name? Kiernan
Katurian.
Katurian. Yeah.
Yeah. I still talk about that
Mhm.
because she was so good.
Yeah, yeah. No, she was inspiring for sure.
Yes,
I was
absolutely.
like when I
Inspiring is a
started working
great
with her,
word.
she like I felt like I was like, oh, like rise up, like get to that level. Um and I think I mean and Solana was great too in Gruesome Playground Injuries, but again it was I was starting to like think about acting as like something like how do I do this? How do I get better at this kind of thing? Whereas
Yeah.
like with Gruesome Playground Injuries, it was just like, oh, here I am again, kind of like in this fake it till you like I'm just
Yeah.
like faking it kind of,
Yeah.
like and then I was like, well, I keep getting cast in these things, so like let's try to do this. Let's try to be good at this. And so I remember like looking up to Rose a lot in that production. But yeah, so you decided to cast me and now 9 years later.
But you're not doing theater as much anymore.
No, it became hard to do with like my schedule, just with
Mm.
like getting a real job.
Because you were
Made
working a lot of nights and whatever.
Yeah, yeah, working nights made doing theater pretty much impossible.
Yeah.
I haven't like written it off altogether, but like, you kind of put the thing down and then it's hard to pick it back up. And um like I said, it's not like I've written it off. Um, but I've also been like way more busy with music and stuff
Yeah.
too, and so like that can make weekends hard or,
Oh yeah.
and so
Sa- Saturday music performance or Saturday theater performance. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So what when did when did you start noticing then across these artistic processes that I'm just going to dive right in, like maybe drugs were becoming
Oh,
a challenge?
well, I mean,
How did that process start?
sure. So, I mean, like I'd always been kind of like a stoner. Um,
Really?
yeah, yeah. How'd you know, dude? And
When I said Rob's coming over today to record the podcast episode, and husband's like, "Which Rob?" And I said, "Dude, Rob." Oh, okay. Like he just
dude, Rob, yeah.
dude, Rob.
I love that. Actually, that's an honor. That's an honor. So yeah, I had experimented with psychedelics, and I would say even more than experimented. I was like a pretty regular stoner.
What do
Smoked a
you
lot of
mean
weed.
that more than experimented? Like you're talking like it became part of your routine.
Not necessarily like part of my routine, but like, yeah, like when you say experimented, it sort of means like you tried it once or you
I
tried it,
did it
like,
once or twice and
yeah, yeah,
left it
yeah.
behind.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah, no, like I would like regularly take like mushrooms or
sure.
acid or whatever, um,
Oh man, acid is
and
such
tried
a
other stuff. And
ugh.
honestly, it agrees with me. It really
It
does.
I mean,
Yeah.
with some people, I just the whole thought for me of 8 hours of
Hmm.
that journey was not appealing to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely doesn't agree with some people. Actually,
My
a, a
brain?
f- a friend of
No.
mine tried to jump off of a balcony while we were tripping. Like in this, like we were like 20 stories up in Vegas. It was
Oh,
insane. It was insane.
no.
And I was the one like wrestling him. I'm tripping. I'm like,
Oh,
what?
no.
It was gnarly. Um, but yeah, so it's not for everybody. Um, so I did that.
This is the part where I'm gonna say again, because I feel like I need to start putting this at like the top of the. We are not endorsing anything.
Yes.
We are not endorsing anything.
Don't do drugs.
Your life experience is your life experience. Our life experience is our life experience. We are just the messengers here,
Mhm.
right?
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so messed around with that. I'd tried cocaine before, when I was younger, and it was, fun, whatever. And that was that. And then sometime when I was when I started, I I got into, like, shortly after I started acting, I started kickboxing, martial arts, MMA, that whole universe. And
Yeah, you were big into that.
yeah, yeah. And then I ended up coaching.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then um, in the course of during that time, I met a girl, and she was kind of like a weekend warrior with cocaine. And then I uh, and so she would always have it, and then I like didn't want to like be a mooch, so I started buying it. Um,
Is that really just how easy that step is?
yeah, 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 for sure. It really was because it was like,
It's just like I'm not gonna be a dick, so
yeah, for sure. That's exactly what it
wow.
was. And it was like it was normal for maybe a couple months where, like, well, normal, I guess, as far as doing cocaine goes, like, I like doing cocaine like a gentleman, right?
Oh
Where
my
it's like
god.
like Friday or Saturday night,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, sure. Um uh but then you like eventually, like you have this bag still, and it's the middle of the week, and it's like, well, like I have to finish this paper.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
gotta finish
Well, yeah, so
XYZ.
I did go back to school, and
Oh, you did?
yeah,
Okay.
eventually I did, like, when I was 30. Yeah, because yeah,
Okay.
2020, when I graduated in December. So I was like, I'd just been like
Oh,
starting around then.
COVID class.
Yeah, which was honestly kind of awesome. Everything being online was,
It works for some
yeah,
people.
yeah, yeah. But
So when did you go back to school?
I went back twice. And it took in like 2018 or 19, I went back to finish.
Okay. In what?
I double majored in philosophy and psychology. I started,
Interesting.
yeah, I started off in psychology, and then I thought I wanted to be a therapist, and then I took a.
You would be an awesome
Thank you,
therapist.
thank you.
I think you should I don't know what your plans are for the next 10 years, But I
Go
really
get my
think you
master's and
need to follow that path because I think you would be an awesome therapist.
thank you. Um, yeah, the thought still crosses my mind from time to time, but and then I took a philosophy class, and I realized, and it was actually philosophy of psychology, and I realized I was much more interested in like psychology in theory as a
Huh.
than like the practice of it, I think. Well, and also UWM was like a super neuroscience heavy program, and I was like more like into like psychoanalysts, like Freud, Jung, Lacan, or like people that like were kind of in this um heady theorizing space about like what it meant, or like Carl Rogers, and so like, and then I just became interested in philosophy, and I took the philosophy like really like well and easily. Like I crushed all my philosophy courses. And so and then I thought I was going to go to grad school for philosophy, and
Wow.
I thought I was going to be a professor.
Wow.
Yeah, because I at this, like during this whole arc of time, I had pretty much all but given up on writing songs. Like I I
Oh.
hadn't like really, like before I ever got into drugs like heavily, I was, I'd pick up my guitar here and there, but I would write a song maybe once every couple of years or something like that. Like it wasn't like I was productive with that at all. Um and then during COVID, uh I was, just stuck with my guitar, and um heard Billy Strings play Don't Think Twice, It's All Right. And I was like, dude, I've been playing the guitar for like, like 15 years. Like I should be able to play like that. And so I just slowed down the video to 25% and just obsessed over it over and over and over and
Huh.
over again until I could play it. And that kind of like got me going again on the guitar. And then shortly thereafter I started doing cocaine and being in love, or whatever you want to call it, whatever that was.
Was
And
she the first person that you did cocaine with?
not like ever.
Oh,
Like
okay.
I had it before,
Oh, okay.
but it was the first person that I had done cocaine repeatedly with,
Oh, okay.
which I'm sure, you know,
What was that first experience like? That was it basically
it's
like,
like
yeah, this is okay.
yeah, like somebody's basement in high school. It was like, and like I think when
What? I don't understand you people. Like I don't. I mean, I grew up in Manitowoc, so maybe it's just an accessibility issue or
yeah,
something like that.
or maybe shortly after high school, but yeah, like I was young.
But I just don't. I did. Nobody was like, hey, want
Yeah,
to do some cocaine?
somebody had it. Well, and
That's
honestly,
so
and the
crazy.
dude who had it actually went on to overdose on heroin. Rest in peace. But
Holy
Um,
balls.
so I mean that actually kind of tracks. I never really thought about that, but I'm pretty sure that was the dude who had like ended up bringing it to the party. I remember like trying it. I was like, okay, like that's an interesting enough experience, but you're also drinking and you're smoking weed, and so
Yeah,
it's
you're
just
doing
like
all
in the
the things.
mix, and it's like whatever. You don't think about it because even as like a stonery kid, I was wary of like addictive drugs, right? Like, I took the dare classes and was like,
Do you have any family history of addiction?
not well, I mean a little bit. I mean, in a, not to be rude or anything like that, but like I mean, we're Wisconsin people, so we're like a family of like functioning alcoholics for the most part. There are a couple people that struggle with it a little more hard, and had like, some issues.
Sure, but
But
you
nothing
two
like
you two come from the culture of
yes.
alcohol use
Yes.
and abuse.
Yes, but like as far as I know, I don't know that there was like any other like drug abuse in my family to my knowledge.
Yeah, nobody's talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I yeah, I guess anyway, so I tried that, never got into it, because I think I was aware and on some level that I was like, like you don't want to get into that. You can do that if somebody else has it, but it's not the kind of thing that you're going to buy. It was like the same thing. Like I remember like we would smoke opium sometimes when I was in early college.
Again.
Um
Yeah,
where
okay.
but it's like but like you knew that it was the predecessor to heroin. So we're like, well, it's
I
fine
guess.
if we like smoke some of this, but like let's not like get into it, you know. And then
let's play around with it, but we're not gonna
Yeah.
dive
And
in.
then I think I got introduced to a culture of like people who used cocaine like pretty like casually recreationally. And then I was like, oh, okay, so people do this normally. And like they're like fit, healthy people with like 9 to 5 jobs, like the steady homes, like, their lives aren't falling apart.
Okay,
So I was like, okay, like this is
this is
cool.
possible.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it was, dude. I was like, I wanted that like feeling of like it's like being close to the edge, but like functioning. Like the idea of being the exception to the rule just
Yeah.
titillates me. You know what I mean? Because it's like I'm a normal functioning person, but like I shouldn't be able to be normal and functioning because of, or whatever. Like there's something about that that's like
I feel
romantic
that
or
that romantic
hmm
idea
yeah.
of yes, I can do this and this,
hmm
and be a functioning human being.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And I'm going to use
Yeah,
quotation marks.
and I mean, maybe I was for a little bit, but and I mean, then I watched it all fall apart because I mean, predictably, the relationship crumbles. Um, you're doing cocaine now, every day or at least most days of the week. Sometimes in the middle of the day, sometimes in the morning to make yourself not feel as shitty
Right?
as you had
Right?
been. You've been up all night, maybe you've been fighting, and so like, now you're like feeling that. And more cocaine leads to more drinking, and more drinking leads to more cocaine because you got to be, it's like you got to be sober enough to drive, and so
Wow.
so you got to do blow to get
Wow.
sober, but then you can't sleep, so you got to drink. Um,
Wow.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it was like that, and then yeah, and then your friends start to notice, and the
Your friends start to notice what? What did they notice?
well, that like, like I kind of I leaned into like sort of I owned I avoided shame by owning my degeneracy, right? So
Ow.
so like uh I would sort of be like open and brazen. So it's like I'm beating you to the punch by like you like talking to me about drug abuse. I'm like saying like I do drugs and like sort of
Um,
like and like clever enough to like dance around like whatever sort of uh advice against it that comes my way. I can, whatever, like, and I guess it's hard to like say exactly what that looks like, but like, it's sort of, I guess the cliche sort of example would be like, well, yeah, I mean, you're taking drugs every single day, like, um, whether it's in the form of coffee or whatever, it's like, so but not that that was like the conversation that was happening per se, but there was always, and nobody was like saying to me like, Rob, you had a problem, um, because I had sort of
I don't think
beaten it.
anybody ever said that to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think,
Oh, that's not true. I had somebody say that to me way back when I was 21.
yeah, well, and I mean, sometimes like the writing is on the wall early, and I think like because I was like, I was physically fit. I
Yeah.
was I mean, I was like performing like an elite athlete. Well, not an elite athlete, but like I was, I was performing at like a high level of athleticism, and on a regular basis. And like I had, I mean, like my job and um, my role at the gym when I was coaching. And so I had like kind of this stability and like this proof of concept that I was like, guys, I don't have a problem. I just like
Yeah.
to party.
I just
And
like to
and
party.
so yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, but yeah, eventually that kind of crumbles because it does get in front of you eventually. And yeah, and then it all falls apart. But funny enough, through the course of that come up before I crested the hill, like on the downward slope, that's when I did start writing a bunch of music again. Like I started writing songs, and I was started feeling like ambitious, and that's when I came up with like the concept of Robbie Sender because that's, believe it or not, it's not my real name. It's just easier to say than my real last name.
It
And
is.
and so
It
yeah,
is.
and
I concur.
so I just went with that, and then and it did give me like the I think getting positive feedback because I just started posting them on my Facebook page, like on my personal Facebook page, some of my songs, and I was getting some positive feedback, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right, I can kind of do this,
Oh,
you know?
I'm a musician.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. And then
how funny.
yeah, and then you have a lot of energy and a lot of you get the creative
Yeah, so you
juices
have this
flowing and
confluence of drug fueled
mania or
energy.
yeah,
Mania is a great way to put that.
yeah,
And so you're like
yep.
writing
hmm
things.
hmm hmm
I am
Yeah,
awesome.
dude. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happened. That's how Robbie Sender was born. rising from
Lyrics.
ri- rising from a pile of powder on my coffee table. Um, yeah.
So but really, like, what is that moment, or where is that moment where you're just, because I think everybody has it, where you just have this clarity of self-reflection and you're like, I have a problem.
I mean, I think I knew that I had a problem like well before I stopped. Um, but
As is what many people do.
yeah, and
I would love to meet a person who, like, said to themselves, I have a problem, and stopped, and that was like the end of it.
yeah, I don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I know of any of those either.
There's a long, and they
Yeah.
teach you this too in like any sort of like peer recovery coaching or anything
Yep.
like that. There's
Yep.
that long, lengthy contemplation stage,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. And you're still looking for excuses
and you're
to.
looking for
Yeah.
excuses
Yeah.
and
But I mean, ultimately, like
paths.
the moment was I'd been up for 3 days, and it was about 10 in the morning,
Yikes.
and I was like, I'd been doing cocaine this entire time, and I was uh just feeling like absolute garbage. So I would rip a line to, try to uh catch up with myself or whatever, like feel like I was okay. And usually I could do that for at least a little while where I mean it like ultimately it was always like this kind of like up down, up
Mhm.
down, up down thing. Um and I would chase that, but this particular morning I remember I would take a line and feel nothing. Like nothing
Whoa.
changed except for like only the mildest breath of relief for like literally a minute or two. And I was like I can't even get high anymore. And now
Whoa.
and like I had already lost my self-respect. Um and I was like dude, I'm in trouble. And so I called my a friend of mine who's in recovery and has been for a long time. Uh he's my tattoo artist actually, and he's um, his story's not mine to tell, but he's been in
Yeah.
recovery for a long time, and he had talked to me about this while because I was actively using while I had met him, and he like kind of knew about my whole situation and me and this girl, um, and he was like watching me from the sidelines in a like a
Mm.
chill, non-judgmental way, but just being like, "Hey, bro, just be careful there, buddy," you know. And I
Mm.
was like, "Yeah, don't worry, man, I got it," And he was like, "Well, if you ever find yourself, cooking it, make sure to call me,"
Oh man.
and
Oh
I never did that, never
man.
did that, but one morning, that morning I was just talking about, I called him and I was like, "Yo, dude, uh, I need to stop. I need your help." Um, and so he called me up and all right, because I had texted him. He called me up and was like, "All right, so here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna flush all your shit. You're gonna buy a buy a big cheeseburger or something, and you're just gonna go to sleep. And
Mm.
we're gonna get coffee tomorrow." Um, and so I took his advice, but did a few more lines first before I dumped the bag, and then and then ate cheeseburger and went to sleep and got coffee and the next day and that was it. Um, So that was like the moment. But there were like little things along the way too where I'd like be like, oh, I need to stop, or like I'd temporarily quit, and throw all my supplies because I had all the supplies. Like I had like the little bullets where you'd put it into this thing and then you would like turn it upside down, twist a little lever, and then turn it up right sides and like get yourself a little toot. And so it's like just had a kind of I was doing it like classy, right? It was like very like
Sure.
it was like Miami chic kind of,
Sure.
or
Yeah.
I had like my little tray that like I would slide it open and there was like a little straw on the side that you just pulled out.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. So I was,
Did you do it with your pinky out too?
yeah, I might as well have, dude. I might as well. Um, so times like that, or like I was actually just talking to my friend about this yesterday because he was the one that said it to me. We went and we were hanging out that day and we were sitting by the lake, and he had kind of been seeing me like just through the morning, and in a friendly, uh, non-judgmental way, he's like, "Because looks like you got a bit of a cocaine habit there, bud." And I was like, "Yeah, I
Mm.
think I might." But I was also like again, sort of like he was in our conversation yesterday. He was saying, "Yeah, you were kind of like philosophical about it," and I was like,
Of
"Oh,"
course you were.
and he was thinking like, "Oh, okay, well, it seems like he's kind of knows where he's at and feels like he's got a handle on this," and um, so yeah, there were definitely little like times, road speed bumps along the way, where had clocked that something was starting to get off the rails, but I was once the claws are in, you're sort of like, you're just looking for reasons to not take away the thing that you're chasing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Once the claws are in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. So do you miss it?
There are my mom actually asked me this the other day. There are I don't miss it, but there are moments that I can like identify as like cocaine would be good in this moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah, some there are times when I
it's like it's a
this
good
is an
time for a
alcohol
drink or
moment.
like
Yeah.
yeah. Um and but no, I don't. I mean, like quite frankly, if I could do cocaine like a gentleman, I probably would. But I just can't. Like and
Yeah.
I know that like it's like it Friday night will turn into Tuesday morning. Sooner or later. And it's just like it's and with the money and the relationships that I lost from it, like I'm not just talking about romantic relationships. I mean like you know, they threw me out of the gym I was working at because I
Oh
I was
man.
I was I was I'd become obviously untrustable,
Yeah.
and so I yeah,
You
so
lost
so
you lost multiple relationships
uh-huh, yeah, yeah.
because of it.
Yeah. And so I was yeah, so I don't miss it in that sense of feeling like I don't want it, I don't crave it.
Mm-mm.
And I know that it only leads to darkness. And so it's like hurt me bad enough where it's like in X you you remember them fondly in a way, but you know that you're never going there again, you know?
Yeah.
And so uh you could say yes and no to missing it, but not in the sense where it's like I wish I could.
Mm-mm.
It's more like knowing like, oh, this would be the perfect time to do it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's good to say too. We talked about this a little bit, because I do want to talk through this podcast about how recovery looks different for
Yeah.
everybody. Um, I myself am somebody who you can say my drugs of choice now are caffeine
Mhm.
and sugar.
Yep.
Like some people hold that hard line of sobriety is sobriety, and you are sober from
Yeah.
all of
Doing the
things.
program or even maybe even if they're not on the program, they just don't. whatever it is, you know.
Yeah, but even caffeine and things like that, because caffeine is a
Yeah.
drug, right? And so but alcohol was my drug of
Hmm.
choice. And so I consider myself a sober person from my drug of choice standpoint, much
Yeah.
like you are in recovery from cocaine
Yeah.
use.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you're wholly sober
No.
from substances.
No. The first Christmas after getting, or maybe it was like the first holiday thing, whatever. I don't remember what it was, but um my mom, I remember I was like pouring myself a drink and she was like, "Should you be doing that?" And I was like, "Mom, I quit cocaine. I'm not a priest."
Uh,
And so um yeah, so my journey was cocaine specific. You know what I mean?
okay.
I like it definitely changed my relationship with alcohol anyway. You certainly, even when I was like, like, because in the beginning I like my first several days off cocaine, I used alcohol hard to
I bet.
pacify myself,
I bet.
right? Um and then I wanted to like just clean up the act in general, so I laid off the liquor for a while, and also because I was afraid of the cross relationship between them, that it could
100%.
pose a threat.
Totally.
But eventually it started to level out, um, and then I just had a um, kind of developed, I guess, a normal relationship with alcohol, um, which I think, I mean, I was frankly like, I think is like a lot of people would say like is risky. For me, like it doesn't matter
Yeah.
how like drunk I get, I know that I'm not doing cocaine again. um and uh I never, because I mean, and we play music in dive bars, like people have cocaine, and like
Yeah.
it's there, you see the little powdered sugar on their
Yeah.
nose, and it's just not like, I don't feel triggered by it. I mean, maybe I do in an unconscious way where I'm like, nah, I don't want to be here anymore. But I don't.
Oh.
But I don't like. But it's kind of like in a way where that's like, maybe it's like projection, where it's like gross. Like I don't want to be around that. But it's not in like a temptation sense where it's like, well, I got to get out of here. You know. But yeah, like I'm definitely like exposed to it, and
I definitely hit my limits with alcohol when I'm in a situation where people are drinking. There's a point where
yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
this is just, it's not hard for me. It's just annoying.
Yeah, it is.
You know?
I think that, dude, that totally tracks. Like drunk people, like, and I think it only takes like one person who's the wrong kind of drunk
Yeah.
is just like can just like ruin the whole vibe,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Um but yeah, so my thing was cocaine, and that was the thing I swore off, and um I mean, I'm
Do you ever contemplate going like a further route? And have you ever
I
have
think
you ever had
so.
some
Yeah, like
just from a health
yeah,
standpoint?
mostly for like the health reasons. Like I
Because your
did.
partner doesn't drink that much either, right?
No, no, she does not. Um,
So it
I
would be easy.
Yeah, yeah,
I've got the Polish guy.
yeah. It's just all over your house. Um,
I've got a bar downstairs. Like,
yeah, I've definitely like gone long periods like without drinking, just sort of for like I got one of these Whoop straps, and then you notice like
what is that?
it's like a health monitor,
Oh, okay.
like kind
Like a
of,
Fitbit or whatever.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, similar
Okay.
situation.
I just got a swatch.
And it gives you like a recovery score and your sleep score and all that, and like,
Okay.
and the data's in, like, turns out alcohol is fucking you up even if you're not
Yeah.
like problematically using it,
Yeah. Fucks
like
with your sleep
yeah,
and
yeah,
all kinds of
the whole
things.
thing,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, so I do like, I guess, toy with it. I mean, I try to be measured. I do know that I'm given to sort of like going hard anyway. So like,
Yeah.
like especially during the summertime, like a party with my friends and stuff, like I'm gonna crush 10 to 15 beers. Like
Which is substance
I mean, technically, like, yeah,
abuse.
if you want to get
Yeah.
technical about it, guys,
Yeah,
all
yeah,
right,
yeah, yeah.
that's substance abuse, all
It
right.
it is.
But, um, but
And you do feel like crap the next day, yes?
sure, sure,
Yeah.
sure, sure, yeah. And I mean, yeah, you're borrowing from tomorrow for today, something like that. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's
Um,
yes, that's real. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
in I don't have like any plans or intentions of like doing like the sobriety as like a lifestyle in like the across the board kind of way. Um, I think that's
You don't
largely
go to
due to having
meetings.
no,
You don't.
mm-mm,
You
no. I
don't.
did when I first got what? Oh no, the first time I tried to get clean, I went to like one meeting.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. And it was actually nice. It was like they were actually super receptive to me. It was an AA meeting. Um, and I went there, and kind of was like, "Hey guys, like
Here's my story.
yeah." And they were like super accommodating. And it was in a way it was kind of like cathartic, but it didn't take because I wasn't like I just wasn't committed to it.
Mm-mm.
I think I was trying to like maybe put on a show to others and even to myself that I was. It's like, no, I need to change. I need to do better, but like
Mm.
wasn't there. Um, but yeah, no meetings, nothing like that. Just kind of like a will to not destroy myself.
That's what I do not want to do this
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I spent thousands and thousands of dollars,
Yeah.
uh, destroyed friendships,
Mhm.
potential like sort of career trajectories,
Yeah.
um, just like a lot of damage was done, uh, and once I saw that, it was easy. It was like in a certain sense, like it wasn't a struggle of me like fighting it, fighting the urge to do it. Um, it was like it had finally gotten so shitty that I was just like, I nothing about this is appealing to me
Yeah.
anymore. And so and maybe this is a little superstitious, but the day so I got sober, um, and then the day after that I got coffee, and then sober. I quit cocaine.
Yeah.
Um, I got coffee with my buddy, and then I was with another friend that night, and I told him to. I did like the accountability thing, where I told my mom, I told all my friends. I
Okay.
was like, guys, like I'm done with this because I had never done that before either, where I like
Okay.
where I like made the announcement. You know what I mean?
Okay.
This was, and I did that on purpose,
Sure.
because I was like, I need accountability. I need people to be on my ass. I have like a ton of really good friends that I knew. Like I told the group chat. You know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah.
there's like 20 of us in there. I was like, guys, I'm getting clean. Like and so I but I was hanging out with one of my friends that night. Just to kind of keep busy, and it was getting kind of late, and it was the day before the eclipse, the solar eclipse. In
Oh.
what year was that then? 20. I'm 2 years and change
Should we
now.
Google
So
it?
so it would have been April 8th.
It
April
was
April.
April 8th because it's Mia Palmer's birthday,
Yeah, it was April 8th.
but I don't
April
remember
8th.
what year it was.
23. No,
What year
24.
was
Because
the
because
eclipse
I'm two
on
years in.
April 8th?
The total solar eclipse on April 8th, 2024
Yeah.
occurred in North America.
So
Okay.
so we were in Milwaukee hanging out, and it was getting kind of late, and like we were both kind of, going through some, some stuff in our lives. I was like, dude, let's just go drive down to Illinois and see the eclipse. Like if we leave now, like we'll be there like you
Because you
know.
got a better view down there,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, you get total like
Yeah.
what do they call it? The path of total
Totality,
occlusion. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. We drove down there and we had like kind of, I mean, it's like sort of a mildly spiritual,
Yeah,
well, not even mildly. It's a spiritual experience, dude. It's
yeah.
it's it's gnarly. Um, yeah, my friend was like actually like weeping. He was like, "Oh my God, this is,"
Makes you feel so small.
uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah. So like that being like my day one sort of like
Mm,
thing was kind of like it was a nice it was like it kind of like was like this is new. Like this is like
fresh
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
nice.
So that was dude, that was an awesome way to begin that like to
New
begin the
phase.
new phase of my life. Yeah, yeah,
Nice.
for sure.
Nice.
Hmm.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So uh
Do you, so, but you because you had sort of had this resurgence of creativity
hmm.
with the drug itself, do you feel like your artistry got better after you stopped?
Hmm. That's an interesting question. Yeah, yes. I think there was I mean I was certainly like more uh prolific when I was doing cocaine. But that doesn't mean that the quality was necessarily as high. I mean, some of the stuff I wrote then, I still play, but a I think it forced me to um, I guess like tap into something else other than like suffering and obsession.
Hmm.
Um, and think a little bit more about like telling a story and crafting a song because
Hmm.
like a lot of my writing up until like kind of like fairly recently was really sort of almost stream of consciousness, sort of
Sure.
like this like where it wouldn't be clear to me exactly what I was saying or who I was saying it to, but it was like this vague shouting out. um and then so I got a little more focused in songcraft and like actually like making a cohesive story and tying something together that made um that had like a real arc and wasn't um like uh like like some you like a typical song structure is like verse chorus bridge chorus, let's say. um I think a lot of the time I was just like saying the same feeling in like three different ways in the different sections. Um, and then without it like kind of going somewhere, it's like, here's how, here's how being high sucks in this way. Here's how being high sucks in this way. Here's how being high sucks in this way. Um, whereas now like I'm focused on like getting somewhere, like having a beginning, a middle, and an ending to the story. So yeah, I think it did it. I mean it because I was afraid I would lose my creativity when I stopped doing it. Which I had anyway. Like I had. It's not
I
like
think
I
a lot
was.
of people fear that. I
Yeah.
think that's a real point of so- I thi- some of it might just be ourselves faking ourselves out or something like that. Like I can't stop. I won't be able to write anymore, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, and I mean, there is something about like I mean, and it probably has something to do with self-loathing. Like what like that's a pretty powerful motivation is self-loathing. There's a quote, I don't remember it word for word, but it's from this book called The Artist's Way. I don't remember the author's name. But she writes that the um something to the effect that we associate art with suffering because suffering sharpens our awareness. Um, but it's not in the suffering that the creativity comes from. It's in the awareness and like in the perception that where the art really emerges from. You know, the particularity, the seeing something clearly. Suffering just makes us see something very clearly because it's right there punching you in the nose, you know? Um, and so, uh, yeah, I guess that's just all a way of saying that um, it now you find new ways to pay attention to the world. Um,
Mhm.
and frankly, like it's not necessarily easy anyway. Like I've never been like a prolific songwriter in the sense like like I mean people who like write songs, like really write songs, they write a song every day. I mean,
Yeah.
and it doesn't mean that they're any good, but they just like they have this practice of like they
Yeah.
just write
Yeah,
something
that's
every
their
day. And frankly, I
dedication.
could be served from that for sure. But for me, it was always like something just will cook,
Yeah.
and then um, so it's still it's still a struggle to write in a certain sense. Sometimes there's always a fear. I always fear that I've like written my last song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it feels like I don't have anything anymore. It's been a while. It's been a couple months for me. Like since I wrote something, and I'm feeling like is this not who I am anymore? Is this not what like you're always feeling like you're not an artist anymore. Or at least that's been my experience, and um uh but I've had that feeling before and a song comes eventually. So I just trust that whatever forces are at work in the world, as long as I, keep picking up my guitar, that something will happen, you know. Um so it's I wouldn't say it's easier now, but it definitely has made it. Uh, it's definitely improved the quality of my work. To
Right on.
Yeah, made it more conscious. Yeah,
Right on.
yeah.
Cool. Kevin Costner, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Oh yes. When I was 19, he was actually at a restaurant in Santa Barbara that I was at with some of my friends,
No
and they were like,
way.
"That's Kevin Costner." And I was like, I couldn't like I was like young and like I didn't like I knew the name, but I didn't actually know who
No,
he
he
was,
was.
and I was like, "Oh, really? Like, cool there."
Mm.
And yeah,
We, people my age, could not get away from Kevin Costner
yeah,
for many, many, many years.
yeah.
Sorry, it really did take me that long for my brain
Just
to
the entire episode.
just the entire episode. And suddenly it was just there you go, babe, Kevin Costner.
That's awesome.
uh, well, I want to start a new thing. I want to start uh like a quick fire question and answer
Okay.
kind of thing. We're gonna call it the recovery round
So like no thoughts, just go.
because I like alliteration. Yeah, I like you know, don't ruminate too
Okay,
hard on
okay.
it. Is I think the
Let me hit
thing.
this Red Bull quick before
Hit the
I.
Red Bull real quick, and then the first thing I'm gonna throw at you is what would you tell your using self?
Knock it off.
Oh man, nice. What's your go-to when things get hard?
Breathing.
People, breathing is very important. I am a huge breather myself. When sometimes setting up things is just a challenge for me, and then we have to breathe. Yes, so I concur. Um, what really drew you to music in the first place?
Blink 182, Tom
Okay.
DeLonge. The excitement of that youthful jackass energy of, of like fucking around and also like the cool fun sound and like the naughty like devil may care attitude of it. Yeah.
Of Blink, yeah. Uh, If your recovery had a title, what would it be?
Oh, if my recovery had a title, what would it be? Uh, trying to think of something clever.
What was the first thing that came to your head?
um, something about uh, long nights on the road and massage parlors.
I like it. Long nights on the road and massage parlors. I like it. That's a good title. I like longer titles myself. So, what's next for you?
Writing.
Yeah.
Trying to write and record as much as I can. I've been playing a lot of shows, kind of getting worn down by it. Um,
The slog.
yeah, and especially like in the same city all the time. It's just like, and I'm so grateful for all the opportunities that come my way, and I get invited to so many shows. Um, but like I realize like, I don't play enough. I don't write enough. I'm gonna kind of settle down on playing shows and try to focus on writing and getting better at playing the guitar and just being focusing on the art a little bit as opposed to the showmanship of it,
Nice.
which is, I think, kind of what drew me in the first place was like the performative aspect of it. Was always I was kind of always a performer first and artist second in a way. I think I'm trying to be the just I just want to be good at writing and consistently good. You know,
Nice. Very cool.
yeah.
Don't give up on the therapist dream. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well,
There's a lot of life left, my friend. I think you can squeeze it in. I think you can make it happen.
yeah, well, I mean, I suppose I could go back to school and get a, the thought does occur to me from time to time to do it just strictly for the ability to like
Call
do
yourself a master,
well that Dr. Rob.
Dr.
No,
Rob.
but to do remote work so I could just like go live wherever I wanted and have a job wherever I wanted
Yeah.
and just like doing the online therapy thing. I'm very uh sort of pessimistic about the therapy world, like in the certain sense, like, and I know that people benefit from therapy.
I do.
I think that, and I and it's not. I've even done some therapy myself. Some therapists I really like. Some I felt like weren't really present with me or whatever. But um, and I think like the world around therapy just sort of like it almost feels like it's too popular, and that makes me dislike it.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I don't know, and maybe that's the contrarian in me or something.
Also, a great song.
There we go.
Sorry.
No,
Perfect Circle. Anybody? 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 There's just a thing on the interwebs today that Judith came out 26 years ago today. So,
Oh.
all right.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt the story.
No, that's
but
okay.
I love that song. Yeah. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of, I think that was the end of the story. I don't remember where I
yeah.
was going with it
Yeah.
anyway.
No, yeah. Great. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Strong
just
ending
saying,
here.
don't give it up. Strong endings, schmendings. Thank you so much, Rob.
Yeah, of
I
course, Jamie.
appreciate you, and I thank you for taking the time to come and hang out with me on the couch.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I was
thanks
really,
for telling your story.
yeah, it was nice. And honestly, it was nice because a lot of this, I think, some of this is like sort of like dug up, and throughout this, and it was cool to reflect on a lot of it and do some reflecting and, um, like, in a, like I was saying to you earlier, like you were definitely like a big part of like my creative journey in general in like in my life, like if there's like an arc of whatever that looks like. And um thanks for taking a chance on me and casting me and you know helping me just kind of like discover a new little corner of myself. And
Thanks, buddy.
being my friend.
Yeah, thanks for being my friend.
Pleasure's all mine.
All right. You be well.
You too.
Rehearsal and Recovery is produced by me, Jamilyn Gray, with support from Let's Go Windows and Doors, Get More for Less with Less, and music from Radd X. Please join us every Tuesday as we talk with a new artist about their recovery journey on Rehearsal and Recovery.